Naz, thank you. Now, in the studio with us, writer Emma Wolf and the journalist James Bloodworth to take a look through this morning's papers for the second time. Good morning to you both. We've been talking about the royals, of course, their photograph on the front page of many of the papers this morning after those two health announcements yesterday. Emma, the Princess of Wales is going to miss duties for a few weeks because of this surgery that she's had. And we're learning a little bit more about sort of the family dynamic, which is saying for the next few weeks, family first.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, you know, I don't want to kind of intrude on anyone's privacy here, but I think it's interesting how Kensington Palace have given us a fair level of detail in terms of the princess is having abdominal surgery. Obviously, there's speculation about what that could be and all of that, but it does appear that she's having a couple of weeks in hospital, so it's a fairly lengthy stay. And then will, as you say, be off duties probably until around Easter. So it does seem to be something quite major. William is going to be sort of visiting her lots and lots, and hopefully she'll have a long, kind of restful recuperation period.
Weird to think that he will be doing exactly the same school run that I did for 10 years from Windsor, where I live, to Lambeth, where my kids went to school. It's got to be quite serious surgery. It's obviously been planned. You're right. It's pretty... You know, people were saying it's pretty obvious to some people, but it doesn't really matter. The most important thing is she gets better, their family unit continues, and we move on, right?
Absolutely, and that it's planned surgery, as lots of medical people have been saying, that's a good thing. It wasn't an emergency case. She wasn't rushed in.
No.
It's all been planned. She'll be in the very best hands. And hopefully a sort of long stay in hospital is precautionary.
Okay. And a swift recovery. Should we look at some politics? Now, James, in the Mail, when Rishi sees a group chanting jihad on our streets, he bans them. Starmer invoices them. We're seeing, because of campaigning, you know, attack ads, and this is a glimpse of the kind of strategy that we're going to see. Talk us through it.
Yeah, so, I mean, the Tories have put out a attack ad on Keir Starmer. It's modelled on the Netflix series Better Call Saul. It's quite an amusing work of art, but it also seems quite desperate. So it's on the basis that in 2008, the German government banned Hizb ut-Tahrir as a group, and Keir Starmer was one of a group of lawyers which petitioned the European Parliament to say it may be a breach of their human rights to do that. The Tories, I mean, the reason I say it's desperate is advocating for a client in a court does not mean you and never has meant that you condone that group or share the group's political beliefs. I mean, Richard Ferguson QC, for example, defended Rose West. Does anyone seriously think that he somehow condones her acts? He condones murder, and ask everyone.
There's a difference, though, is there not? And I'm actually not going to score points, but there's a difference between defending somebody because the legal right in this country is that you're allowed to defend yourself. Yes, somebody like Rose West shouldn't be allowed that, but that's a fact. Then actually the idea, and they'll all start attacking each other, of actively looking as a human rights lawyer to do good in other countries. Let me just tell you what he said, because he addresses his issue in an ITV interview airing tonight. Not going to tell you when it is, because I don't know. If they want to attack me for decisions when I was Director of Public Prosecutions, we had 7,000 staff. We made nearly 1 million decisions a year. Will there be mistakes there? Of course there will, but there'll be no smoking gun, no skeletons in the closet. You see, this is my thing. When you look at Horizon, he was the Director of Public Prosecutions when people were prosecuted. This is just a fact. We've heard in the past the comments about Savile and all that. Now, of course, he was the Director of Public Prosecutions, but we're going back to this thing. If you want to be the Prime Minister of this country, you have to play by the rules. He quite rightly attacked Boris Johnson and said, you might not have gone to all those parties at Partygate, but you were in charge of number 10. The reason they're attacking him is because he was in charge of 7,000 people and they made mistakes, so he's going to have to take the rap.
This was before he was the head of public prosecutions. He was just a practicing lawyer at this time.
Oh, right, OK.
And it's also, I mean, the Hizb ut-Tahrir thing, I mean, David Cameron didn't think the group should be banned because they are a non-violent group.
Oh, don't give me Cameron, I won't be defending him.
The climate has changed because of these protests and these placards that have been on the anti-Israeli protests. But he wasn't the only one who was saying that, you know, it's not necessarily the case that they should be banned because they are a non-violent group. Just they say some very obnoxious and fairly repulsive things.
What's the impact of that poster? Do you see it and think, oh, Keir Starmer shouldn't have done that? Or do you think that's pretty cheap from the Conservatives?
No, I don't think it's cheap because there were some very nasty adverts last year from Labour, attack ads on the Tories about, you know, Rishi Sunak basically letting paedophiles in. They're both at it. I think the fact that Keir Starmer was DPP and, as you said before that, human rights lawyer is delicious. You know, there's going to be so much stuff to rake over if she does become Prime
attack ads
Minister.
really work?
But I don't think they do, and I think that one's too clever by half. I don't think that's going to...
I was going to say...
I mean, I don't get it.
I think Rosie's right. Do you think if you're in the rebel seat, and I'm not being disrespectful, I'm being honest,
don't think that's
do you think you're going to walk down the street and go, oh, better call Keir, I'm going to vote for him? Actually, what it shows is our politicians are desperate and how low the whole thing... That's why I keep saying, people want to know what Starmer's going to do about the boats. They don't give a damn about that.
It's not going to resonate with the public.
No,
but also,
not.
I think it's pretty rich coming from the Tories at the moment, given the marches and protests that we've seen on the streets recently that have not been cracked down on.
Yeah.
And that's at the government's door.
It's very interesting. Very, very interesting. Emma, Mail, online. The Met Police apologised. We were given this earlier. The Met Police and Sir Mark Rowley, another hugely successful human being, apologises for crackdown that saw homeless tents being ruined. He admits his force, the Met, acted unlawfully by issuing a controversial dispersal order that sparked outrage.
Do you remember Suella Braverman's comments back in November about, living on the streets being a lifestyle choice?
Yes.
These very notorious kind of controversial comments.
That was a great comment.
She was saying, they cause distress and unsightly and all of this. She was very, very disparaging about homeless people, and a lot of people were very angry about that. Well, just a few days after that, there was footage filmed in North London outside University College Hospital where a lot of homeless people pitch their tents and sleep on the streets. It was about 4 degrees one night, and the police went in and literally started chucking these homeless tents into the backs of rubbish trucks. And one of the homeless men, pointed out that these dispersal orders should not stop people from accessing their homes, and that was his home. And this is what these, a lot of challenges now going through the courts, these dispersal orders are, that's what they call them, when they take someone's tent and they chuck them in. And, I cycle past here...
Was this inspired by Braverman?
A lot, every day, and it is filthy, and there is rubbish everywhere, and there are tents everywhere, and it is unsightly on the streets, but these are people's homes. So the Met Police Chief Commissioner, Sir Mark Rowley, has been apologising for that and saying it was unlawful.
James, so many things have gone wrong here.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of despicable, and I think it's very hard to draw a direct link between a politician making that statement and this happening. But statements like that by Suella Braverman create kind of a climate where this kind of thing can happen. We've seen a massive rise in homelessness in the last 10 years. And yeah, I do find it sometimes a nuisance, and it is unpleasant to see these things. It is unpleasant to see kind of squalor on the streets. But it's not just, you can't just say it's a lifestyle choice. There's a wider problem going on. I mean, rents have increased by 31% in London since 2021. You've got a lot of these people have severe drug problems. It's not something you can just dismiss as, I mean, what was it, -7 last night, and it's a lifestyle choice. People are making to go and sleep outside in this. No, it's not that simple.
I took my kids, and this is honest. So I took my kids on the 29th of December, went through the cupboards, everything, like for Christmas, it's far too much. Everybody's going, 2 bags.
Suffocation.
There's a place in a car park where we live, 3 guys, and you get there and you think you're going to do the right thing, and they're all smoking cigarettes and drinking booze. Left the bags of food, but it's such a contentious issue. It's an absolute blight, and it's wrong. And there are people on the right who will go, we're putting migrants in hotels and people are on our streets. I happen to live in Windsor, as you know. I'm going to tell you a story that will blow your mind. You know the royal wedding, Harry and Meghan?
Yeah.
The council in Windsor took 5 homeless people who had been there for ages off the streets, put them in a Premier Inn for 3 days, and when the wedding was done, threw them back out the door. But James makes a really salient point. There's a lot of drug issues. A lot of people say, oh, these poor people. There are a lot of very poor people who are homeless. Veterans, for example. And I'm not saying that Suella Braverman's right, but...
And I often feel like, yes, they're drinking beer, and probably so would we be if we were on the streets.
So I gave them all that food.
I get it. I get it. And actually, I do think there is probably quite a link between the comments, because I think this was a big crackdown. As I say, I know the area. Suddenly it was cleared a few days after these comments from the Home Secretary at that point. So
I want to rip through these, a couple. The Mirror, page 21, James. A greedy and dishonest ticket tout gang ripped off music fans for more than 6.5 million quid. I hate them. They're everywhere when you go anywhere, aren't they? Ticket touts.
Yeah, I mean, you've got these 2 ticket touts here. There's a story how they were turning over huge amounts of money by buying up using fake names, fake IDs, fake accounts to buy all these tickets from groups like Ticketmaster, for example, and then reselling them on secondary ticketing sites and making like lots and hundreds of thousands of pounds between 2015 and 2017, and turning over £6 million. I mean, this is a story. The individuals obviously are at fault, but I mean, if you look into this industry, it's corrupt from top to bottom.
Absolutely.
So the secondary sites are owned by the same people who own the primary sites, like Ticketmaster. So they know they're profiting twice. This is why they don't crack down.
You're absolutely spot on right. Ticket touting is absolutely great point.
You do wonder why sort of legislation hasn't caught up to sort this problem.
You're too busy on Rwanda.
Anyway, should we move on to final
I do wonder
thing?
why people want to spend hundreds of pounds. I mean, you know, more
If you
for
can
them.
get the ticket in the first place, that's
More
the
for
problem.
them.
Then you go to Circle Line, it's really
If you want to
disappointing
spend
because
£700 to go to Glastonbury and sit in a muddy field for
Imagine
3
if you
days,
spend the money on Circle Line, you
Good-
got there and there was no story to the
good
show.
luck to you. Yeah,
So
exactly.
mean. Final thing, Emma, the public are turning their back on irons.
Yes.
The public, we speak often about the public, that doesn't include...
I've been
perhaps
told
Mr.
that,
Kyle.
that your chief political commentator tells me that you're very keen on ironing and even...
I do all the ironing in my
Iron
house.
some shirts.
can see.
I
You
iron
can
at
see how well
4
ironed that is.
o'clock. Lucy said she had a picture, but I don't think she does. 4 o'clock in the morning. The first thing when I got to dress, there it is. There's my iron and my suits and my shirts. And look, they're all ironed. I do that at 4 o'clock in the morning. And then I cover it in plastic, and that's how I do it. I cannot bear things that are unironed. I don't. I even iron towels, pants.
Oh, my
I'm just
goodness.
looking at James's shirt.
I iron
Horrific.
towels, bed sheets, and socks.
No,
and
what is the point of ironing your socks or your pants?
Because it's how one feels and how one looks. And as my mother used to say, if you get knocked down by a car as
Yeah.
a woman and you've got unmatching underwear, look, the wife's been on, here we are, straight away, rubbish. You do your own ironing and I do mine. Stop lying. There you go, brilliant. I do hers as well, she's lying.
Anyway, the public are turning their back on irons, partly due to these
Why?
non-wrinkle shirts
Oh,
and
you see, now
synthetic
that's a
fabric. I
disgrace.
knew that would
Look
wind
at
him
him.
up.
Look, that's a non-wrinkled shirt. It's like a
Non-iron
dish.
Not a
shirt.
non-wrinkled shirt.
It's a
Definitely got some
dishcloth,
wrinkles
Jay.
there.
It's a dishcloth. And actually, Sam Ellard is coming. It doesn't even wear a shirt, for goodness sake.
Worst is people that only iron the front and the rest of it is all, you know, and put a jacket
I
over.
think
Anyway,
the worst
apparently
is when someone's got it fresh out of the new box and you can see the lines on the,
the
shirt
lines
and
on the
you think,
box,
oh,
yeah.
No, you've got to iron. Ironing is very, very important. My mother
Steamers
taught
are
me how
becoming
to do it.
popular instead, so you can just steam things down rather
Very
than ironing
clunky
them.
to keep a steamer at
Do
home,
you
though.
do you iron?
A little bit. I'm not
you?
going to do towels. That's a
not?
real waste
The
of
things
time.
that need
It's a
ironing,
proper
one
way
does.
of folding towels as well. I have it all put. Don't worry about
James,
it.
do you iron?
I iron
No!
shirts. I iron shirts, but I did it very quickly last night. That's why.
Sorry, were you asleep?
I'm
And
also
was it
wearing
in the
trainers,
dark? I'll iron your shirts, Jay. Bring them in. I'll do them at 5 o'clock. I don't have a problem.
James, Emma, thank you
Thank you,
so
gang.
much. I'll be back here in just about an hour. Now, still